Welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we're tackling a topic where there is literally zero room for error. We're talking about the high-stakes, sub-millimeter precision required for guided dental implant placement. You know, taking an implant plan from a digital screen and executing it flawlessly in a human mouth. Because let's face it, in this field, a single millimeter of deviation? That's not just a rounding error, it's the difference between a perfect restoration and a total clinical nightmare. So if you're looking to master the art of guided surgery, you are absolutely in the right place.
Okay, let's dive right into this with a statement that essentially serves as our manifesto for this entire explainer. Surgical guides deliver sub-millimeter accuracy only when clinical protocols are followed rigorously. Just think about the reality of that for a second. You could invest in a $100,000 milling machine, the absolute best 3D printer, the fanciest resin materials on the market, but the surgical guide itself, it's completely, entirely useless without strict, unwavering adherence to the clinical rules. The guide doesn't just magically provide accuracy. Your rigorous execution of the protocol is what actually provides the accuracy.
To get there, we're going to use this outline as our clinical flight manual today. First, we'll look at sub-millimeter accuracy. Then, selecting the right patient. Third, strict imaging standards. Fourth, the intraoperative protocol. And finally, number 5, post-operative documentation.
All right, Section 1, sub-millimeter accuracy, the prime directive.
Look, the technology gives you the potential for sub-millimeter accuracy, right? But that potential is entirely dependent on you, the clinician. It demands rigorous execution of evidence-based guidelines across absolutely every single phase. It's kind of like a giant domino effect. If your imaging has scatter, well, your guide won't fit perfectly. If the guide doesn't fit, your drill deviates. Boom, you forfeited the accuracy before you've even picked up the handpiece. So it's an unbroken chain spanning patient selection, imaging, the surgery itself, and the final documentation. A break anywhere literally compromises the whole shebang.
Moving on to Section 2, selecting the right patient. The pre-flight check begins.
Now, the broad utility of guided surgery is incredible, but understanding exactly why it's indicated in specific scenarios is absolutely crucial. Take the highly demanding anterior aesthetic zone, for example. Here, guided surgery isn't just about dodging nerves, it's about optimizing the emergence profile so that final crown looks perfectly natural. For immediate placements or multiple adjacent implants, it gives you that perfect parallel precision. And it scales all the way up to complex full-arch restorations. Oh, and consider your medically compromised patients. Guided surgery drastically reduces chair time, which makes it a much safer option when efficiency is key. And honestly, for surgeons still early in their learning curve, it provides a really vital framework of safety and predictability.
So conceptually, guided surgery actually has no absolute contraindications. Theoretically, it can be applied to almost any implant case. However, and this is a big however, we have to pay strict attention to some very real physical and logistical hurdles. Say a patient has a limited mouth opening. You are going to hit a massive physical barrier when you factor in the combined height of the surgical guide, the metal drill keys, and those really long drills. You might physically not be able to fit the instruments back there in the posterior region. And of course, inadequate imaging is a total deal breaker. I mean, if you can't capture the data, you simply can't make the guide. Plain and simple.
Which brings us right to Section 3, strict imaging standards, capturing flawless data. Because flawless physical execution during surgery relies entirely on capturing flawless digital data beforehand. So the crucial point here is this highly specific, totally non-negotiable requirement, 0.5 to 1.0 millimeters. That is your required CBCT slice thickness. To put that into perspective, 0.5 millimeters is roughly the thickness of just 5 sheets of copy paper. If your slice thickness is larger than 1 millimeter, your 3D model is basically just a blurry guess of the patient's actual bone topography. You completely lose the high-res data necessary to identify critical landmarks and design a guide that actually fits. Sub-millimeter accuracy demands sub-millimeter data, folks.
Beyond just the slice thickness, the foundational imaging mandates are super strict. Your CBCT needs full site coverage plus a 10mm margin. Your intraoral scans must capture full arches, the opposing dentition, and an accurate bite registration. But here is the absolute golden rule. Verify your scan quality before patient dismissal. We've all been there, right? Discovering a scatter issue after the patient is already driven halfway home. Do not let that patient walk out of your clinic until you have definitively checked the data. Recapturing data right then and there will save you weeks of logistical headaches and super costly remakes.
All right, let's get into Section 4, the Intraoperative Protocol, the main event.
This is where the digital plan meets the clinical reality, and the stakes literally could not be higher. I want to pause for a second and really emphasize this core rule. guide seating verification is the single most important intraoperative step, period. Before you even think about picking up a handpiece, you must confirm passive seating with visual inspection and tactile checks. You should feel a definitive, really satisfying snap when it seats onto the teeth. If the guide is rocking even a little, or if it's not seated fully, every single drill hole you make will be drastically deviated from your digital plan. Do not drill until seating is absolute.
Once that seating is verified, you enter a really strict sequence of operations. Step 1, verify that seating again. Step 2, use only the system-specified drills. No mixing and matching components from different kits here. Step 3, follow the exact drill sequence mapped out in your surgical plan. Step 4 is absolutely critical. Maintain continuous irrigation. Surgical guides inherently block natural saliva and coolant flow, which makes heat generation a massive risk. If you don't irrigate aggressively, you risk causing severe bone necrosis. And finally, Step 5, verify depth stop engagement at each drill. Skipping even one of these protocols, it immediately destroys the sub-millimeter accuracy you were promised.
And that leads us to our final phase, Section 5, Post-Operative Documentation, the black box.
I like to think of this final phase kind of like an aviation black box. Data logging is paramount for your own clinical tracking, case support, and vital legal protection. And this brilliantly illustrates how to strictly divide your responsibilities into two distinct categories: what you actively record and what you physically retain. You need to meticulously record the exact implant specs, your final placement depth, the insertion torque you achieved, which lab manufactured the guide, and crucially, any intraoperative deviations you had to make from the original plan. Meanwhile, you must securely retain the original CBCT, the intraoral scan, all the design documentation, and your post-op radiographs. This is what forms your comprehensive, unassailable case history.
Now, modern digital dentistry is really a team sport. The protocol is rigorous, and yes, the surgical responsibilities fall squarely on your shoulders. But remember, you're not flying blind out there. If the guide feels even slightly off, or the digital plan doesn't quite match the intraoral reality once you open a flap, hit the brakes. You can always contact your guide provider or laboratory support for specific case assistance. Their digital expertise is a huge, powerful resource, and you should definitely be actively leaning on it whenever you encounter an anomaly.
So we've covered the flight manual, from the pre-flight check all the way through the surgery to the black box documentation. The technology is undeniably proven, and the guidelines are crystal clear. But the final execution, that rests entirely in your hands. So I'm going to leave you with this provocative question to really reflect on. Are your clinical protocols truly delivering sub-millimeter accuracy? Or is there a step in your routine that might need tightening up? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep refining your technique, and I will see you next time.